Welcome to Indian Podcast. Does that sound good?
Are we changing our name?
All right. Oh, somebody got excited over there. All right. Welcome to another episode of Southern Tulane.
What up?
All right. It is February 12th.
It is.
12.
Rainy February 12th.
Oh my, is it like for 24 plus hours, it has been just coming down.
Yeah. Feels like it's been 40 days and 40 nights. But
What you guys been up to the last 7 days?
Work.
Why did you have to mention that? This is I do this to get
Responsibility.
away from it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Hey, did you guys notice I'm rocking the Southern Tulane
yeah.
baseball cap
Yep. That's
Southern Tulane
Yep.
merch.
merch?
That's the Richardson 112 snapback trucker hat.
Mm-hmm. Good fit.
Kaboom.
I had my hand on it, and I figured one of y'all would be wearing it. And with our topic of conversation tonight, I felt obligated to wear the Barn Shield, even though my intent during this conversation is to kind of play the devil's advocate.
My intent in this conversation is to play the guy who knows absolutely nothing about Indian motorcycles.
Well, I'm going to tell you, the last 24 hours, I've probably done more studying on it than I should have, and I've learned a lot.
Okay.
And I've said all along, not to jump the gun here because I know we'll get to this point, but I've said all along that I'd love to have a Scout. Scouts just, they've always had a good name. They're a good little zipping cruiser and this, that, and the other.
Sharp.
And they look
Yeah,
good.
they are, and they do look good. But I've always said I'd like that. But now, I think after I get my breakout, that's going to be next on my list.
A Scout?
Yeah.
After you get the breakout, you're then going to get a Scout.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just
I
it'll be a
mean,
different color.
okay.
Be like having 5 road glides. They're just 5 different colors.
I mean, yeah. Okay.
So is that allowed? Like, do you, when you purchase from Indian, do you have to disclose that you're also a Harley owner?
And I wear my Harley stuff to go buy the Indian.
There you go. That'd be fun.
And we're going to talk about this, but the best thing about going to buy an Indian is when you go, there's other bikes in there normally. Now there are some specific Indian dealers in cities like Daytona and Sturgis and some others, but like around here, there's no Indian dealership around here, and I don't know that there's one in Alabama. I think they all sell through other dealerships. Our local dealership here is called Big Number One, and they sell everything but Harleys, but unless they've been traded in.
Mm-hmm.
So Ride Now is a big chain, and there are 2 or 3 offices in Alabama, and they sell them along with Hondas and Suzukis and Yamahas and everything else. So anyway, last week we got really in depth with the Harley Davidson 2025 drops releases. And this week we are going to dive into another brand, and it is a shall I say a sister brand? I mean, yeah, maybe. I mean, it's and the reason I say it could be a sister brand is because the start dates or the original are only a couple years apart. Mm-hmm. Nothing else is really that close.
Yeah, and I think the history is a little unclear back then as to to who was first.
Well, I'm about to solve all that for you.
Yeah. Okay.
So
I got some solving.
Indian claims what 1901.
Well, yeah, they claim earlier. So the first Indian. Well, okay, let's start. Let's back up here because we're about to get ahead of my little paragraph here.
Okay.
All right, Indian Motorcycles release, and this is this is a going to be a podcast of not an IMO per se, but reading facts and what we have now. DJ and I have been to numerous rallies and things, and we have. I don't think there's been one that we didn't go to the Indian tent and walk around and look. So it's not like that we're complete strangers to their product. They do have two wheels, fairing, and a motor. So, I mean, we're but as far as like actually having ridden one, I don't know that I ever have. But anyway, so Indian Motorcycle Company was founded as the Hindi Manufacturing Company by George Hindi in 1897. All right. So, at the time, he was mostly producing bicycles. In 1900, a gentleman by the name of Oscar Headstrom joined him. He was an engineer, and he joined them to start making the actual, what we now know as the Indian motorcycle, with the first one performing with a whopping 1.75 horsepower single-cylinder engine. So that would have been in 1900, 1901. Says the first Indian motorcycle was produced in 1901. During the 1910s, Indian Motorcycle became the largest manufacturer of motorcycles in the world. Any comments on that? Is that surprising?
Well, I wasn't alive back then, so I can't speak directly to that. But I believe that. Yeah.
My fourth great may have owned one. I'm not sure.
Mm.
The original manufacturer. Okay, so here's the fight between Harley and Indian. And some of you out there that's listening may have further and better information. If you do, hey, you know what? Put it in the comment section below or email us S2L at southerntulane.com and let us know, because we're always open. But what I can find, one of the reasons that Harley supersedes Indian when it comes to longevity in business is because later in their existence, Indian went bankrupt.
As did Harley.
Well, but Indian had to shut down.
Okay.
Harley did not. Harley was more of a, what is it, chapter 11 versus chapter 7, 13, that kind of thing. I don't know that those chapters were a thing back then, but it's that reconstructing versus shutting down, figuring it all out, starting back up. So that's one of the things that kind of hangs out there with Harley and Indian. That's why Harley has a self-proclaimed oldest motorcycle at 121 years or whatever they're at this point in time. So they went out of business. The original manufacturer went out of business in 1953. Like I said, hence that's where Harley stakes their claim that they're the oldest. I don't. Yeah, and there's probably more to be said there, but we got a lot to cover. So listen to this, and I'll give you the sentence that was in what I read. Says various organizations tried to perpetuate the Indian motorcycle brand name in subsequent years with limited success. And then here's what I added. I chuckle because even though it's my comment, I still chuckle. Indian has had more owners than the woman at the well in the Bible had husbands and lovers. I mean, they've gotten around the block. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of things that happened. Lots of things that happened through the decades and years, and different people owning them. There was at one time there was a conglomerate that owned them, but in 2011, the snowmobile company bought them out. Mm-hmm. They were a dying brand, unfortunately, again in their existence. And Polaris, which is an American manufacturer of snowmobiles, in 1997, I think it was 97, rolled off the very first Victory motorcycle. All right. And for the subsequent years, Victory was a pretty popular brand. They hit the ground running.
By popular,
Well, maybe bipolar.
like you might see one.
Well, let's put it like this. At the time, outside of Harley, there was really no American-made motorcycles on the road. I mean, everything was foreign.
Yeah.
So Indian wasn't around, and some of the others that were, U.S. Built, whatever they were.
Still more likely to see a Sportster in the wild.
Or a gay lion or something like that.
Okay, but I hear you. Gained popularity,
It
madly
did.
popular.
Madly.
But Polaris, even though I'm not a real huge Polaris fan, no shout out to Polaris. I have my different problems with Polaris because I've owned Polaris products outside of motorcycles, and we'll leave that there. But a little smart on the business side, they opened this brand underneath the ownership of Polaris, but didn't call it Polaris, called it Victory. They were designed specifically to compete. Now, this will make you chuckle with Harley Davidson. All right. 94 years-ish after Harley started, been established, provided the military in 2 world wars and many other wars, and a culture in America through the 60s and 70s, a motorcycle brand that was synonymous to the open road and freedom. This brand pops up and says, we feel like we can compete with Harley Davidson. All right. So
As do others.
they do.
But,
Yep, they do.
yeah.
So they put them out there, V-twin engine, touring seat, sport touring cruisers, lots of configurations. But over time, they failed to perform or to turn a profit in 3 of its last 5 years. And in 2017, Polaris announced that it was going to stop making Victory. Not just making, but the brand itself was going away as far as, how it relates to Polaris. Laying on this groundwork, trying to do it fast. However, 6 years before this, I think somebody saw the writing on the wall and realized that if they bought Indian, an iconic motorcycle, they could rebuild it. And if you build it, they will ride. All right. That would be the answer. And to compete with Harley. So they did. 2011, they bought Indian and started making Indian again. And of course, the 2017 shutdown of Victory was easier because they owned Indian and was going to dump all of their resources into the Indian brand instead of trying to split between Victory and Indian, which was probably smart, to be honest with you. So in 2011, Polaris announced that it purchased Indian. 2013, Indian unveiled their brand new, at the time, pretty strong 111 cubic inch 1820 cc Thunderstroke engine. That's a mouthful.
Yeah.
And they began to sell their newly designed motorcycles based with that engine in it because they wanted, again, they were trying their best to compete with who? The mothership.
Yeah, Mother HD.
So lots of stuff has taken place. Indian has come alive. They can't seem what I would call turn the corner to really compete with what Harley does, but they're holding their own. I mean, they're making some decent bikes. They're selling them, obviously, or they wouldn't be in business still. And of course, you've got Deep Pocket Polaris behind them, who sells many different types of
Power equipment,
extracurricular vehicles: 2 wheels, 4 wheels, 3 wheels, water wheels, all kinds of stuff. So I intend on trying to get to the location we went in the fall to Indian and looked around a lot of their stuff, and I should have done it then, but I didn't. But this year, when we go to Bike Week in a few weeks, I am going to take a test ride.
Yeah, I'd love to as well.
Yeah, going to do it. So the aftermarket and Indian-made accessories has grown over the last few years. Nobody will ever be as large as the Harley aftermarket world, at least not in my lifetime. But Indian is, they've got a few parts out there. You can upgrade and do some modifications and things of that nature when it comes to windshields and cams and motor builds and fairings and different things of that nature. So before we get into their lineup, what do you guys think on all that information? Chime in. That's a lot.
Yeah, that was a lot of information. I was just scrolling their website and stumbled across this picture here of the Indian Motorcycle Riders Group.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I think that's all of them worldwide.
Well, I mean, there appears to be at least a couple hundred.
It is, yeah, it does. Yeah, it does.
Maybe that's just one chapter.
Yeah.
Well, that's the ones that showed up.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess coming into this, I really didn't have, and still don't know a ton about the bikes themselves. The thing about Indian that kind of grates on me is like they've got a model so similar to everything in HD's lineup that I don't feel like there's a ton of originality. Maybe my expectations too high for that, but
well, one of the folks that we follow, I listen to their podcast about it, and they actually made the statement that makes sense. And what you just said, I was afraid, or let me back up. I was afraid I was going to venture down that path, so I have been sitting over here telling myself the whole time not to. Uh-huh. But because that's where we live. We're probably seeing, through the rose-colored glasses or the HD glasses. Not that your point is not correct, because that was one of their points, was that there's only a couple of bikes that they did that is, really Harley doesn't have anything anymore to really compete with it. And to be honest with you, it's the first one on the lineup is one of them, and that's the Scout. It's not with its affordability and where it falls in price range and models and what it'll do. Even though they call it a cruiser, I don't find it to be an LRS
That's
or a breakout.
Softail Slim.
Yeah. So maybe, but do they even make that anymore?
No, because it didn't sell.
Yeah. So my point, but I mean, so we're talking about, you've got we're not going to talk about them all. I'm just going to throw out some of you've got the Scout 60 Bobber, Scout 60 Classic, Scout 60 Sport, 101, Scout Bobber, Classic, blah, blah, blah. It goes on down, it names them all, and you got 3 different trims for them. But the most expensive, highest end Scout you can buy is only $16,000. You can get in one for $9,999. Right off the showroom floor. It's not a bad looking bike.
Yeah.
I mean, for somebody, the Street 750 and the bikes that Harley used to make for beginners, they don't really do anymore. So,
you got that FTR as well.
Well,
that FTR is a bad mofo.
Yeah. Harley doesn't have anything like that.
Well, hence you have the Pan America.
Yeah.
That's what they're
Pan Am ST.
Yeah.
Going to be your.
But now I don't think
that's
Indian.
fair.
I don't think does Indian make the FTR anymore?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it in the
they've
lineup?
actually
It's
got a
in the
limited
lineup, yeah.
edition out right now,
Which is sweet.
which is fine.
Yeah, you look at that.
And look, this was a collab with Rolling Sands.
Yes, it was.
So 300 of them available. So, and that's worldwide. So I would say that should be what you should get after the breakout.
I like the name.
And it could be.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
I would like to ride that if you had one of those.
Super Hooligan.
Yeah, they made it a super hooligan on purpose and by design.
Yeah, so here's the thing I do like about them. They're all over Harley's ass in the King of the Baggers.
Yeah, they are.
Mm-hmm. They're all over Harley's ass in the Super Hooligan class. I can't knock them. I mean, S&S is building, Rolling Sands is building, and using their platform. What I see them come off the floor with better suspension, comparable brakes. I really think that maybe Indian has forced HD to kind of step up their game
Sure.
with inverted forks and Brembo brakes and all this kind of stuff. Their tech is top notch. The only thing in their baggers, their head unit, if you will, the infotainment center, whatever you want to call it, whatever the buzzword is, it looks just like my four-wheeler.
Yeah.
That kind of bugs me.
Well, and I've never been a big fan. Let me back up. I absolutely just abhor. I can't stand that little Indian on the front fender.
Agreed.
Of those touring and elite bikes that they make.
And there's one of those that runs around here locally. It's like a teal color. It's got the brown leather saddlebags and the big old fenders.
We've got a good friend of mine's got one. It's the kind of
it just doesn't appeal to me.
Doesn't me either.
And I think every time somebody talks about Indian, that's the image that pops in my head.
Yeah,
is the big old fenders and
Look at that Roadmaster. Look at that fender, man. That's just reminds me of like a
I just don't love that
60s station wagon or something.
Well, and the rounded saddlebags that's on the, and like the cruiser, like the Chief, that's another one of their cruiser models. Their base model's 14.9. You can get a Super Chief Dark Horse for 21, and they're all in between. And again, with several different trim packages.
And what's their most premium line? Is it the Pursuit
Elite Series?
Elite.
It is their CVO's part, of Indian. The Elite, the Indian Challenger Elite starts at 38.4, and then their biggest and baddest is the Roadmaster Elite, coming in with a tour pack. It's the only one that comes with a tour pack that I could see, if I remember correctly, off the showroom floor. You can get tour pack for any of them, but 41.9. So that's their kind of comparable. Comes with a 116 CI, 126 foot-pounds of torque, 919 dry weight. It's all chrome, only comes in one color, blue candy, black candy fade over silver champion gold pinstriping. Like it's, kind of a good custom bike, but it's loaded down.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they've got some stuff that I dig. I think even in their lower models, you can get power locks in your saddlebags, the adjustable windscreen. We talked about that this morning in our little text group with John.
Yep.
That seems like such an easy thing to do and such a practical thing to do, and they're doing it. Other people are doing it. Like, I don't get why it's not prevalent in the Barn Shield, but
well, let me give you an example of that. In 2010, I bought my first Toyota Tundra. I've been wanting one for years, and I bought it and loved it. As the years progressed, trucks started gaining a lot of technology. One of the things that became pretty common and standard on GM and Ford trucks was remote start.
Mm-hmm.
So the next Tundra I bought, I wanted remote start. Well, it don't come on there. Well, can I get it put on there? Well, we will. Mm-hmm. We can put it on there, but, it don't operate the same. What do you mean don't operate the same?
You got another key fob.
Well, you get another key fob, but you crank it up, and when you get in it and put the key in it to turn it on, it cuts off. And then you got to crank the truck back. Well, that's a theft concern. Toyota. Here's what I come down to. Toyota didn't need that to sell their truck. You see where I'm going with this? So why put it on there? Why make it standard? Why make a big deal about it? Their trucks still sold. They were number one. They didn't have to.
No, I hear you. But it's also in other countries, remote start is against their emissions regulations.
Yeah.
So my wife had a BMW, a super nice car, didn't have remote start.
Yeah.
Now you can roll the windows down,
But you can't crank the motor.
but you can't crank it.
Yeah.
An
So,
exciting feature.
And that was what in Germany, where they're manufactured, where their highest market share is. It's not
Doesn't stand out
legal
as one
to
of their things.
manufacture there.
Yeah.
So I would think Toyota's probably the same way in Japan. It's probably against their emissions standards or laws or whatever.
I'm sure there's probably something that's sitting there, but some of the things that was told to me was, security and why would they put it on their standard when that may not be something somebody wanted to pay for, and I'm like, well, you don't have to put it as a line item.
Your argument is HD doesn't have to put it on there to sell motorcycles, so they don't.
That's right.
So how long how long does Randy continue to allow them to do that?
Till it becomes important to me. And at the moment, it's just not. That's not something.
Not that
and
important,
if they did a survey, I would have to say probably 9 out of 10, if not 10 out of 10, for the most part, are saying that's not important to me. I'd rather have X, Y, Z. Whatever.
Okay,
that
what
is.
is that XYZ? Because I don't feel like there's a trade-off. I don't
I'd
feel like it's this or that.
I'd like
I feel
to
like
have.
we just don't want that. So
I'd like to have locking bags on my ST, CVO ST, but I can't get them.
yeah, not going to get that. But I don't feel like you got anything else in exchange for that. You paid for the things that make it an ST.
Yeah, you're right. Well, I mean, they did make some concessions. They put other things on the bike instead of that. So
Yeah. So I would make an argument, and let me pose a question to you guys. Out of the Harley owners that you know, how many of them do you think, like, how do I word this? tread lightly, right?
Nah.
I don't want to offend anybody, but I fall into this category,
crash
right?
into the building.
The windshield's not important to me because I don't ride like that. Like the majority of my riding is just casual riding. It's not where I'm laying down, thousands of miles or going on these extended trips or whatever. It's just not my riding style. I'd rather throw it in the truck and haul it to Daytona and putt around Daytona for a week and then put it in the truck and drive it back. But then when I see, I wonder when you look at Indian riders or Goldwing riders or, the GS riders, or how many of those in proportion ride the same way?
I think that would be an interesting statistic, but when Harley did the Pan America, they did the adjustable windshield.
Yeah, they did.
Manual.
I guess because they're trying to figure out who their competitor is and trying to, make sure that they check all the boxes of the competition.
Well, I will say this from a production and engineering perspective, if they don't have the technology in 2025, I don't know why they would ever have it, because their fairing designs and front of their bike designs don't have a lot of room up there for that item, at least not that I see. John talked about that in our text message today, why there's not a big aftermarket for
But they
it.
just redesigned the fairing, though. Like, why would
my
you
point.
even put together a team and say, okay, we're going to redesign the fairing? And that just gets nixed off the idea.
Doesn't even come up in conversation.
Because it was number
Because
11 on the
people
top 10 things
designing that bike don't ride that bike.
Well, either
That's
that
been
or
my argument
yeah.
about
That's
HD
a very
forever.
good point.
And maybe I'm wrong. God, I hope I'm wrong. But
I don't know what you are.
yeah,
I mean, it's the same argument that the number 13 team has in the top 12 football playoff.
But if Honda can pull it off, and BMW can pull it off, and Indian can pull it off.
So let me ask you a question then. Okay, let me pose a question, because this is back to my statement earlier. Do they pull it off because they need to pull it off to try to get an edge up?
No. Well,
I mean, because I can say, look
For
what mine
some of
does,
them,
that one don't do it.
I do think Harley and Indian are marketing to the same customer. Indian is going to have to try and gain market share away from Harley Davidson
To be successful.
to be successful.
Yeah, I agree with that.
People riding Hondas are not.
It's a different, I'm going to say a different type of
So
people.
I don't think Goldwing needed to have one in order to gain a customer out of an electric glide.
Right.
I think the majority of Goldwing riders aren't interested in an electric glide.
Yeah, okay.
And I get it. You ultra limited, street glide, ultra, whatever. Y'all know what I'm talking about. The traditional Batwing touring bike. Okay.
Right.
Or fixed fairing doesn't matter for this conversation. But again, I think either those people are just not interested in what comes with a Harley Davidson, or they've been burned.
Right.
Which I've heard a number of those stories in my small amount of time in the motorcycle community, that people just move on. They get burned too many times and say, you know what? How many times am I going to stick my hand in the fire before I quit?
Yeah. I mean, and also the aftermarket, world with windshields when it comes to Harley is limitless. So, I mean, is that a factor in that Harley goes, yeah, we don't need it because there's, 1,000 different, heights and brands and models and styles and colors out there that, the Harley owners, they want those choices. They like that. They like going out and shopping. So it'd be just wasteful for us to do that on our bikes. I mean, is that just stupid sounding, or does that make any sense?
It doesn't really make any sense to me because, I mean, there's a million companies out there making T-shirts, custom T-shirts, and Harley said, let's make our own T-shirts. You get my point?
Yeah, but to a degree, you're talking about lots of things that motorcycle brands could do that they don't do, and there has to be a reason for it. Like we've talked about before, some of the technologies that's on some bikes today have been there for a while.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
Harley doesn't have to do it.
Statement. That's right. Exclamation point.
Yes, they don't have to do it. They don't have to be the first to the table with cutting edge technology, because the majority of their customer base is going to buy their product regardless, and that has been proven.
Yeah.
Time after time after time after time. I mean, it was just until, and I still don't know that anti-lock brakes is standard on Harley.
I think it is last year. I think starting last year it was.
And I mean, that's 30 years.
Yeah, it's been around a long time.
I mean, that's been standard amongst every other manufacturer for a long time. But I feel like so many people want Harleys for other reasons other than the bike. You have to. You have to want something other than the bike, because the bike is less reliable, less powerful, slower. I mean,
more to maintain.
Well, and I think, look, let's talk. Let you and I, and Chris can chime in here as well. But let you and I talk from a business perspective. You've got the customer base. You've got, the majority, I guess, or close to it. Why make a bike that's perfect when people like to go out and shop and do things to it? So we can make it less perfect. And I'm using the word perfect, but
you can't go to the tent in Daytona and buy an anti-lock brake system.
Well, no, you're right. That's a point with the electronics of that portion. But outside of that, I mean, what can you not upgrade on a Harley?
You can't make one liquid cooled that's not.
Well, those are common things that come with certain models.
They're common things that come with technology, because you make more power.
Yeah, they still make motors.
You make them faster. You make them more reliable when they run cooler.
Yeah, but you're talking about this major dealership. We got off.
I'm not talking about. Bleep that out. Sorry, babe. She got on to me for.
beep, beep,
Getting
beep.
a little excited here. I got to throttle myself down here a little bit. But I mean, we're not talking about foot pegs and
Oh, you're right.
exhaust.
But it was just 2017 before Harley stopped making the air-cooled engine. I mean, that's not even been 10 years ago, 7 years ago. The Softail carried the
14
air-cooled engine all the way until
14 was
18.
twin cooled.
Yes, the limited, the ultra limited, yes.
Yes.
But all your cruisers and all your small bikes were not.
Uh-huh. I mean, I get it. That they don't have to introduce that technology until the EPA mandates it, and then they're going to do it,
or until their constituents require it. Mm-hmm. And guess what? They're not going to require it.
They don't, because we're not buying a motorcycle. We're buying friends.
We're buying a brand.
I'm gonna talk myself into selling this hat.
Let me tell you something. Harley freaking Davidson, baby. To the dub. Here's one of the kickers that I found, and let's see if you guys discovered this. You know, one of Harley's things that's fun is you get so many paint choices. Indian, you just do not get a ton of paint choices.
Yeah,
3 to 4, maybe. You know, like Honda, like they only do like 1 or 2. On like their Honda, the Honda Fury comes with one color each year. Mm-hmm. Traditionally speaking, there may be a year where they say, "Hey, you know what? We like both of these. We can't decide. Just throw out both of them." But you know, for the most part, it's either red, yellow, green, blue, and that's what it's been for the last 4 or 5 years. But Harley offers a pretty wide range of paint options.
they do. And fit and finish is superb,
Yeah, I agree.
top notch. Except for that hose clamp they forgot to put on my coolant line. Sorry, go ahead.
Harley, you forgot that hose clamp. Just didn't go right over that nipple.
Right.
Okay, do you know what the FTR stands for?
Flat track racer.
Absolutely wonderful, sir.
I was going to say failure to reach anybody.
Failure to reach the audience.
Yeah.
We have a winner. He's going to buy an Indian. Winner, chicken dinner. Yes, flat track racing, and they are pushing about 120 horsepower. And also very light, 13.5 off the showroom floor.
Nice.
So everything that I read and looked over and put together for this little presentation of their releases, I came to 2 conclusions. And my conclusions are this. They're trying, because they have some things that Harley don't have, which we talked about. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is if you are price conscious and you're not loyal to a brand, they are more affordable. Top to bottom.
Sure.
Even their most expensive bike is still $5,000, $4,000 or $5,000 less than the other brand.
That's just horrible.
But remember, just remember, and I say remember as I look into the camera, and to all you listening, most of the time when Harley buyers buy a Harley, they're buying into the brand.
Mm-hmm.
And we have said numerous times in our existence of motorcycle riding and friends and doing this show, I have said it all of my life about different brands. You can take a pair of shorts that are hanging on the rack and you can put DSG on one pair and you can put Nike on the other pair. And the Nike pair will sell, it could be the exact same pair of shorts, and the Nike will sell for $10 to $20 more just because it has the swastika on it. Oh, I mean swoosh. I'm sorry. That's Nazi swastika. That's what I always called it. So there's that. But if I was learning, like, okay, so my oldest is graduating from Auburn University here in a few months. And he's getting a little more serious. I want to ride. I said, well, son, look, there ain't nothing that would just please me more than to be able to ride with my son. That'd be awesome. I just tell you.
Yep.
But we got some other hurdles we got to get over. He needs to, he's got to graduate. He's got to get a job. He's got some other things he's got to do. He's trying to, figure out he wants to buy a truck, trade his car in. So he's got some things he wants to do. I said, let's just focus on that. But I'm thinking to myself, hopefully he doesn't hear this because then he'll get ideas. But I'm thinking to myself, you know what? For a Scout at $9,000, $10,000, I mean, I might could help him out there. I mean, that's not a lot of money in consideration to a base model Harley being what the cheapest one this year is like $22,000.
I'm currently taking inventory of your garage and wondering why he has to buy one.
Have you heard the term cold day in hell? I could put him on a Scout that's got a 60 horsepower motor in it and feel almost like a bicycle. I feel a little bit better about it.
Randy's not going to let me ride one of his motorcycles.
I would let you ride it. I would do it. Just make sure your insurance is paid up.
You'd require a kidney first.
If I needed one. But they are affordable.
Let's go with value packed.
Bang for buck.
Yeah, I think that's what I said.
That's not how you said it. I like saying bang for buck. Bang, not bang buck. Bang for buck.
Well, what's he going to do with it?
What's he going to do when they come for you?
Yeah.
What's he going to do with the Klondike bar?
What's he going to do when he wants to upgrade? Or maybe look at a Harley down the road if he wants to.
Well, I mean, eventually
bite off a little more.
Yeah,
what do you do with that bike?
Eventually, well, I'll just pull it into my garage.
You're right. That's where I'm going with it.
You sound like Tony. I mean, it's like every corner they turned, he was like, well, they got small market because they're garbage, blah, 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 blah. He tried to be nice, but it was limited on his.
I haven't said that they're garbage. I really do. I think they're probably the better bike mechanically. And then I knew a lot of people bring up this dealer network thing, like this is some big sales pitch for Harley. And then I got to thinking, there's like one Rivian dealer in the United States.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, probably.
That's a fair
and I
point.
see them things running around
everywhere. That's a fair point.
Why don't they have to have a dealer network?
Because they order them on Amazon and put them together when they get to the house.
I mean, because people buying Rivian trucks aren't buying friends. They
Rivians
want a
come in a
Rivian truck.
box?
I mean, I have some statistics for you. How about this? What was the number one selling motorcycle brand in the U.S. in 2024?
2024. I'm gonna have to say that's gonna be some sort of adventure bike.
I'm gonna guess different. I'm gonna say Yamaha.
Yeah, I would think Yamaha 10RA probably.
Honda.
Okay.
Honda.
What model?
Well, so this particular statistics, I don't have models, just the brand. That's why I emphasize said brand.
It's going to be a dirt track bike.
So a brand, Honda had 20% of the market share. And
Wow.
Harley had 19.9%.
Wow.
So one of the first years in a while that Harley hadn't had a majority of the market share. The next closest to those two was Yamaha at 12.2, Kawasaki, Suzuki, and BMW at 3.1. So it works its own one down. Other brands, 28.1.
Yeah, that's going to be a motocross bike.
Yeah, I would have to say.
All
right.
They sell a lot of those. What are
They do
CBRs
sell the
and-
Rebel. The Rebel's a popular bike.
Yeah. Well, worldwide, Honda blows everybody away
Yeah.
Yeah.
because of that. Those bikes that they sell in,
they-
Thailand and places like that.
They are the most reliable bike. Need less maintenance than everybody else.
And then you got that Grom and the Monkey.
They do, but the Rebel.
I don't feel like you can put those in the statistic. Those should have been
motorcycles.
Those are like toys, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I will have
Yeah.
one.
Nobody only owns a Monkey.
Yeah, no.
Is Coleman on the list with them little?
I don't know. They could be. If you drove around a Coleman, you better be ready to die. 'Cause-
Right.
So the Honda Rebel 1100, it hasn't changed in 70 years.
It's a pretty cool bike.
I like the nostalgia look. It's got that old flat, long seat.
Yeah.
But the Rebel 1100 is Honda's best-selling motorcycle in the U.S., and last year they sold 40,000 units.
You're kidding.
Nope. 40,000 units.
I never would have guessed that.
The
Who's buying that bike?
what? Huh?
I don't see that in the wild
Harley's number one seller was the Sportster.
because of price point.
I think probably for the same reason that Honda's 1100 is the number one seller, because it's probably the price point, yes, but it's also lighter, easier to learn on, and
Yeah, well, it ain't around here.
you're right there. But what I'm hoping is that the same reason the Rebel's selling a lot is because more people are learning to ride. That'd be awesome. So
That would be awesome.
Indian's number one seller is the Chieftain.
Okay, I figured it would be the Scout.
No, the Chieftain is. Any idea what Yamaha's number one seller is in the U.S.?
Not the Tenere.
I'll give you a little hint. The foreign bikes, their ADVs are not their top selling. So Yamaha's is the YZF R7.
Okay.
That's a pretty bad bike. Suzuki's SV650 is their number one. And I'll give my BMW friend here an opportunity to tell me what their best selling one in the U.S. is.
I mean, I want to say it would have to be the GS, but its price point's up there. So,
Which
maybe
GS? That's the way you got to come in at.
okay, so it is a GS. I mean, it would be the standard.
The R.
Well, all the GSs are R's.
It says R1250 GS and its adventure variant.
Okay.
So
Yes.
it's the street version and the ADV version combination, I guess, is what's their best
Yeah.
seller
And
in the U.S.
and I think it's,
That's kind of surprising because that's an expensive
It
bike.
is.
it's
But
an-
but if you're talking BMW, sorry, Chris, I didn't mean to
no,
interrupt.
you're fine. Go
I can't see you, so I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Other
I
than
thought
here.
it might have been the R9T.
But at that, yes, price point, it's a pricey bike, but you're buying that bike, you're intentionally buying that bike, if that makes sense. You want that bike, and
Yeah.
you're gonna have a little more expendable income if you want that bike.
Well, BMW is their selection of bikes are not that wide. I mean, they've in the U.S. I should put it.
I'm gonna say their cruisers have an ugly engine, man.
I don't.
I mean,
I'm
what
not,
is-
you
so
you
what
have
we
the
got?
R18, you've got the K1600, and you've got the 1250 and a little bit and the smaller ones. But I mean, to Chris's point, I think you when you go in there to say our dealer down here in Birmingham, who sells BMWs and KTM's and
That's a good
Hondas and
looking
everything,
bike.
you're going in there on purpose to look for that bike.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You're going in there to buy it. You've already made up your mind.
Yeah, I would say so.
I mean, they've got a lot of bikes, and they've really got something in every
Category.
category, except for maybe a fixed fairing cruiser.
Do they have a crotch rocket?
Well, I mean, they got the K1600. If you want to, does BMW have a crotch rocket?
Do they ever?
Yeah,
They do.
I'm really impressed. You did a lot of research here, pulling numbers and stuff.
I like numbers.
Yeah.
What's KTM's number one U.S. selling bike?
Duke 390.
Boom. Shakalaka. Kawasaki. I guessed it before I looked it up.
It's gonna be a crotch
KLR
rocket.
650.
The Z650.
Okay.
So they sold around 45,000 of those things last year
Wow.
in the U.S., which is not surprising. One of Harley's best, not one of, the best Harley touring bike is the Street Glide.
Yeah,
So
sure.
it always,
The Me Too bike.
yeah. How about this? The number one selling ADV bike in North America in 2024, the Pan America 1250 Special.
No kidding.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the excitement of it hitting the market, so soon that people are, giving it a shot.
I would be, yeah. I think there's a lot of Harley owners that said, hey, I'm going to give that a try.
Yeah.
But I doubt Pan America got much market share away from anybody else.
No, I think it added to the market share of ADV riders in the U.S. I don't think it took away from another brand.
Anybody sold their GS and bought a Pan Am.
I'm getting rid of this right here and buy me one. Top selling dirt bike.
Honda again.
For sure.
Yeah.
I guessed it wrong. I had everything right, but the number. It's the CRF, they make
CRF 300.
450.
The 450
Yes.
was the best seller. Wow, that is kind
That's
of
a
shocking.
big dirt bike.
That's a bad dude.
I was thinking 250.
Yeah,
because I thought, that's easy to get on, and even a 250 is still that's a mean bike. I've been on many a 250s, Yamaha and they're so when I found 450, I thought it must be a lot of strong young men buying.
It's a 450 4-stroke.
Yeah, that's the difference right there. People don't want to have to mix.
A 450 2-stroke would be a.
Yeah, you're still talking about a little bit of get it up and go.
But that 450R, that's a heck of that's a lot of bike.
It is. So, I guess kind of a culmination of everything about the Indian and what we've talked about and some of the information and the history wasn't anything surprising. I knew most all of that, just being back in the motorcycle world for the last several years, and even when I was in many years ago. What do y'all think? If you had expendable cash right now and could buy only an Indian, top to bottom, you got $45,000. You can buy the most expensive, or you can buy which one you buying?
Right now, so like this isn't. I don't own a motorcycle.
No. In our situation,
it to my garage.
You're adding it to your garage.
Probably the Sport Chief RT.
All right.
The what?
Now is that the tech trim package? Has it got the tech trim package on it?
What? Okay, I like the bike, but take the bags off.
Yeah, I don't like the bags either.
They look like ammo cans.
And take that front fairing off. They have one.
I like the little. I'll have to put my glasses on.
Okay, so this is going to... Hang on a minute. I got you right here.
Okay, so just the regular Chief or the Chief Dark Horse. Good-looking bikes. Leave the bags off because they're useless. You might could fit a sandwich in there.
I don't understand that ammo can saddlebag. Everybody that I have seen on YouTube do the review has gave those bags down the hill. That they just don't look practical and again, they look like ammo cans on the side of a bike.
They do.
I DJ will tell you that on the cruisers, I'm anti-fairing. I don't want one. The Breakout did in some of their CVO models did what they called a Pro Street version, and it came with a little fairing. I hate it. I think it's the ugliest thing that a Breakout's ever made. That's an IMO. But I got to say that on this RT, it don't look half bad. So I don't know. Like, I don't even like it on the LRS. I think it looks like they were trying to make a street glide fairing, but decided not to go full blown.
Yeah, save a little bit of money
and just did an amateur.
Right.
I mean, not a street glide, but a road glide fairing, and just decided to.
I know what you meant.
Half-ass it.
Yeah.
So I don't even like it.
I do. I like it.
But this don't look too shabby. I think it fits nice, not too big, not too small. But I concur. I think that would be the one I'd buy.
That FTR slick.
That's a different. Yeah, that's a different bike, though. I mean, I guess it's.
You didn't say it had to be any kind
No.
of specific
No,
bike.
no.
You
It
said
doesn't.
It had to be manufactured by Indian.
Indian, or Polaris. Polaris Indian. Hey, Polaris. So yes.
Yeah. So I'm Sport Chief RT because it'd be different than anything that I've got, or the FTR.
I'm going a different.
And
go
the
ahead.
FTR is just it's kind of small for me. I've seen it. I'm not a small feller, and I think I'd look out of place on it. Probably on either one of them, to be honest. But now, if I had no bike at all, I might consider the fixed fairing variant. Which one is it?
You're talking about the Pursuit, that one there.
Getting there.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Pursuit's nice.
That's a really nice bike.
It is.
I would go with that just because of the touring package. I mean, that looks like a very comfortable bike. Never ridden one.
I've had several people. I've got now in Sturgis when Jeremy and I were there before you came in and the ladies had left.
Yeah.
We went to the Indian tent and over there off of Lozelle, and we got on. It is not compared to the stock Harley seats. Their seats from the factory they're pretty good.
Superior.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, in comparison too.
Okay.
And you know what their staple iconic color is?
Black.
Red.
Red. Oh, okay.
That is their color.
I mean that's the one I got highlighted right there. That.
Yeah.
What is that? That sunset red smoke with black. You know what else I noticed? Just kind of overall looking at these different bikes. Not a lot of shiny chrome. A lot of blacked out stuff.
Their biggest and most expensive bike. They only make the one that the. Which one did I say it was? It was on the end of my list here. The Roadmaster Elite.
Yep. That's it.
It has all chrome, and there's a lot of chrome.
It's yeah.
And it has 1, 2, 3, 4 colors on it. But pull it up and take a look at it.
I don't want to again.
But it looks good. It's a sharp bike. As low as 1.99% and 0 down.
I mean, I just
air and opportunity.
Something about that bike screams Nazi to me.
Which one?
The Elite.
Oh no, that looks good. I like that.
You like that really big fender?
I kind of do. Mm-hmm. Oh no. The big fender. I'm not a fan of the Harley big fender. Any big fender on those bikes, I don't like. And that Indian head on the front of it, I detest.
If I got one, I'd take it off right away.
Yeah, I'd put
Leave
like
a big hole right
Ford
there.
Lincoln Mercury emblem on the hood.
I'd replace it with a golf ball. And that Challenger Elite's a good looking bike too.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think their version of the Shark Nose is it looks pretty good. I mean it looks.
I mean, it appears the inner fairing is painted.
Which means
way to go, Indian.
Cha-ching.
Paying attention to detail. But you can only get that in one color. That's
sharp.
Challenger Elite.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like that.
Yeah, they don't go overboard with colors. That's what we were saying earlier. They're so it wouldn't take you've got to like Harley's Atlas Silver this year looks so much like their Platinum in 23, in my opinion. It's not quite, it's silver, but it still looks really close. So I'm like, okay, what did they do? Drop a little white in there to brighten it up? I mean, it's you bank on it. They don't throw that paint away. So, all right, guys, thoughts?
It's hard to compare. For me, it's hard to compare because I've never ridden one. We'll check that box when we go down to Bike Week. I don't see a whole lot of them around. I know the same guy you're talking about that's got that seafoam green and the leather bags on the side with the little things that fly in the wind.
Tassels.
Yeah. He's the only person I know that owns an Indian. We rub shoulders with him when we go to rallies, and Yeah, we went and just kind of walked through the parking lot in Sturgis. But I can't speak from personal experience on what, and this is the first time I've looked at Harleys over the years. I've gone to the website. I've compared models. Like I said last week, the first time I went into a dealership, I walked out with a Harley. But that was the first time that I've been to an Indian dealership. No firsthand experience with them.
Right.
This is the first time I've ever looked at a drop they've done. So I don't have a whole lot of experience, but if I were to give it a scale rating 1 to 10, I'd say they probably came in a strong 8 as far as offerings. I mean, they got a couple of things, your crotch rocket style or stripped down cafe racer type bike. And what was that model? The FTR.
FTR.
Yeah, I like that bike. I'm probably not going to go buy one. I am interested in riding one though.
So I want to pose a question. Why would you not consider a Goldwing or a K1600 if you had no motorcycles, none?
Are we going back to we're ignorant, never had a motorcycle, and don't know anything about them?
No.
Okay.
No. Let's, you get burned. No, let's not even do that.
Been there and done that already.
Something happens so somehow or another. You rewind a few years, whatever the case may be. You're in the market for a motorcycle. You don't own one, but you know how to ride. You're familiar with them. You've done the tail of the dragon before. You just want a motorcycle.
Do your friends own a motorcycle?
Sure, that's why you're getting one.
Okay. You're probably going to buy what they recommend, and what they recommend is going to be whatever brand they've been loyal to.
Okay. So if you'd had a circle of friends and they rode Goldwings, you'd probably bought a Goldwing.
Probably. I mean, I don't know that I would want a bike that big. Yeah, I do. I want a bike that big, but I think a lot of the people who are buying Indian motorcycles are not wanting to conform, and they see it as caving into the Harley world. So they're going to be different.
Trust me, those that are anti-Harley out there
They're out there?
they're full-blooded anti-Harley.
I didn't realize those people
They'll
existed.
buy anything but and bash it all the way to the house and back.
Okay.
So to your point, I guess, is that, everybody else has got it. Well, by God, I'm not buying one. I'm not going to get caught up in all that blah, blah, blah. So they're buying Indian, they buy whatever. So anyway.
But a lot of people that bash Harley bash the reliability, the infamous oil leak,
Something.
Whatever it is. And we disregard that.
Yeah.
Like, just pay it no attention. It doesn't matter. It never happened. It was a figment of their imagination. Whatever. And I think for me, I'm okay with, I hope my Harley doesn't break down on the side of the road and leave me stranded. But, if it does, it was a chill Saturday afternoon. The weather was nice, and I was just out gallivanting, and somebody can come pick me up. It's not a big deal.
And I still
We'll
own a
move
Harley.
on. Yeah, I just get it fixed, probably throw a better part at it than what I pull out of it, and I'm happy and all is good. But I just wonder if you were, why did we not give more consideration to the Goldwing or the K1600 or the GS or the this or the that? Why was it Harley? I mean, I did.
Yeah.
There was never a doubt in my mind.
But you've got your family's got history with Harley.
Yeah. I rode on uncles, motorcycle as a young kid, and wife knew, very early on. And shout out to my wife, 26 years ago yesterday, we went on our first date.
Oh my God.
Everybody on
Chris,
Facebook
you
thought
ready?
it was our anniversary, but it was
Just a date. Oh, I was about to
it was
sing
just
it.
a date.
Happy anniversary date to you.
Happy anniversary, baby.
I got you on my mind. Whoop, whoop.
Hope we didn't infringe any copyright there.
Nah.
Yeah,
anyway,
so
yeah,
I
you've
mean,
got
I said
family, yeah.
I was gonna have a Harley,
Yeah.
but
But why? Yeah, you got family, all right, but why? Because I think that was going to be my next statement.
yeah, I mean, because I feel like a lot of people own Harleys because it strokes their ego.
Listen, I will straight up admit I bought a Harley because of the image.
Yeah,
I'm shallow. I'll admit it.
it makes you feel some kind of way.
Well, Harley.
I bought a Harley because I wanted to be a real biker.
Yeah. No, I mean, look at Harley. Harley doesn't sell motorcycles. They sell
A culture.
an image. They sell a lifestyle. They sell an image, and even the whole, when you buy one and banging the gong, and they make a big deal and rev an engine, welcome to the Harley family, and all that. Is it? They do it, 5 times a day. Is it?
I wish they'd do better at some follow through with that.
Yeah, I hear that, but.
Bang or gone.
But I do think if some stroke of luck happened tomorrow and I found myself in some sort of financial situation where I could say I'm gonna ride more. I'm going places. I'd buy another bike.
And it would be?
That I don't know. I'd probably the Goldwing.
It's
Maybe
it's-
the BMW because
Yeah.
that
the
BMW
K1600.
K1600 is a bad machine, dude.
Yeah.
But
I just can't get over that Mazda rotary engine in there. That's what it looks like to me. That's an appearance. That's all that is. It's
I do like the Goldwing. That I don't want an automatic though, and I feel like that's the trend that Honda's pushing is that DCT transmission. So I'd have to find one that was the color I wanted, that had a clutch, that
aren't they V4s and those things now? V6s?
inline six.
Inline six? Okay.
I think yeah.
Well, I'm not gonna lie. The anyone that knows anything about motorcycles knows that the Goldwing is, no pun intended, is the gold when it comes to
Gold standard.
Yeah, when it comes to touring. I mean,
Yeah, I mean it's
I can-
faster. It's more fuel efficient.
it is. It is. And here's the
more
good thing.
comfortable. It's
A lot of people don't see this as good. You and I wouldn't see it as good, but there's not a big aftermarket for parts and stuff. You can get a few things.
I don't know.
but,
I
I mean-
think it's probably bigger than you're giving it credit for.
Probably, but
I mean,
it's still not as
you
big
probably
as some.
felt the same way about the Pan America when you bought it, and then you get it and really start doing some digging, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's there.
Well, what's odd about the Pan America, and that's another conversation for another day, but I'll throw this in, is that about 60 to 70% of the aftermarket parts come from China.
Sure.
Not that they're made in China, that's where they're engineered, developed, discovered, made, and shipped from. So in other words, America doesn't have a lot of aftermarket parts for you. You have to buy them, and it's those aftermarket parts that were people that were making parts for the BMW and the African Twin and all that stuff. So
Yeah. Now, you're right, though. You're not going to be able to get on a website and have in 2 days a Razor tour pack for a Goldwing.
I mean,
That's not going to happen.
but the people buying them, they don't want one of those.
They don't.
That's not why they're buying the
There's-
bike.
Honestly, upgrade the seat. Maybe you want some exhaust. Maybe you want some pegs. But I mean, they're tuned already. You don't need performance. I mean, that K1600 off the assembly line will get after it.
Yeah, it does. I mean, the Goldwing does too. There's just, and look, let me tell you, we were on our trip last year in May out west, and we ran across this group of black gentlemen that were on they were all packed up, so I'm assuming they were on a kind of a cross country ride. We passed them on the interstate, but there was probably 8 or 9 of them, and every single one of them was on a Goldwing, every one of them, and they were laid back. I'm talking like laid back in a 72 Lincoln Continental laid back, cruising down the highway at probably 90 miles an hour past us.
I think they have heat.
They may do it. Yeah.
I think
I mean, you could literally stretch out on that thing because they're as long as a sofa.
Oh my God, they are. Yeah. I think they're like 8 feet, 10 feet, 12 feet. I don't know.
I mean, you say that. I've got a acquaintance, one of the guys that he's a sheriff here, and the sheriff's department rides Gold Wings. And I had a conversation with him one day, ran into him at the Harley store. He's got a Road Glide as well. Had a conversation with him, and he was like, dude, that Gold Wing, like when the contract came up for the county to decide what kind of motorcycles they were going to buy, they had BMW come out and do a demo, and Harley come out and do a demo, and Honda come out and do a demo. And they went with the Honda because it was the best of both worlds. You got the speed and the nimbleness and the price point. He said that the BMW was faster and equally as nimble, but came at a higher price point. So, but he also owns a Road Glide. So, but he'll tell you straight up, I can make that Gold Wing do things that Harley don't even dream about doing.
Yeah. I don't doubt that at all.
Even at their size. I don't know what the specifics are on the size. I know they're big bikes, but so's Road Glide. So
maybe we'll throw it out there one day and can do some comparison between Harley's road and street and the Gold Wing in the K1600.
So anyway, I guess I can close out the Indian conversation here with Indian. You're on my radar. Keep getting after it.
Yep.
And
we'll see.
Maybe there's a spot in the garage one day.
But as we all know, and we are all in agreement, we're like-minded when it comes to this. Whether it's Harley, Gold Wing, Indian, it don't matter what you ride as long as you're riding it.
All right. What about our social media there, Mr. on the end? Tell us where people can find us.
You printed and laminated.
I did.
I'm impressed, but
the people listening can't see it. So.
For the Tiki Takis, the Instas, the Faces, and the Ubes. At Southern Tulane, that's the number 2. All one word, all scrunched up together. Southern Tulane. Check us out.
All right, guys, I guess that's about it for us tonight. It's still pouring down, raining. I've heard thunder while we're doing this thing. Hopefully it didn't crack through the mics, but if it did, that's what you heard. So, hey, everybody, say something kind to one another. Give somebody a hug. Tell them you love them. Remember, life is short. Find a motorcycle and ride it. Love you guys. God bless.